Hey there, tech fans. Today I've got the brand new Oay Toby X4 system. This product allows you to very easily create a flexible and expandable AV over IP solution for distributing all of your media content to multiple remote locations at the same time over a single network connection. And the best part about this solution is that it's totally software defined. And what I mean by that is most AV products on the market can do one thing. They perform one function. So maybe they're an HDMI switch or a splitter, maybe an HDMI extender or a matrix, or maybe they're a video wall controller, but that's all they can do. This new ToVi system from Oay can do all of those things at the same time across the same network because it's software defined using the control box. So you can create a relationship between a transmitter module and a receiver module as an HDMI extender, where you can distribute that media content to a single remote location up to 330 feet away over that single network connection. But at the same time, you can turn that transmitter into an HDMI splitter where that media content is sent to multiple remote locations. You can use 4 receivers at a single location to create a giant video wall. You can also use multiple transmitters in the same network with different media streams and create an HDMI matrix that allows you to easily send the media content to any of the remote locations at the same time. Now, as part of this overview, I'd like to start with sort of a general understanding of what components are involved in the system so you understand how to deploy it. And then I'll take a closer look at each one of these modules and I'll explain the connections and indicators so you understand how to use them. I'll do a short demonstration as well to show you how you can create some of those digital relationships between the inputs and the outputs. And then I'll come back one more time and point out some of the special features that this product provides so you can compare it to other products you may be considering. So let's get started with the unboxing first. So the system is divided into transmitters that connect up to your media devices and receivers that connect up to your monitors. The system also includes the network control hub and a PoE switch. Now, you don't need to use a PoE switch, but the entire solution is Power over Ethernet capable. So if you plug these into a PoE switch, you eliminate the need to have a power supply at each of the modules. The system fully supports 4K ultra high definition media content, and it's both HDMI 2.0B as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant, which means it's essentially plug and play compatible with a wide range of modern media equipment. Now, as far as the modules go, there are 3 inputs that connect up to the media devices: an encoder, a transmitter, and a wall box transmitter. So all 3 of these would connect to whatever media device you'd like to share the content with your remote locations. Then there's a receiver module that's located at that remote location where you'd like to display that content. And this connects up to a monitor at that location. The PoE switch is really the backbone of your network. It connects all the modules together and handles the transfer of the media content across that network. And there's a network control hub where the software lives that actually defines the relationship between your inputs and your outputs. And you can access the graphical user interface on this hub by simply opening a web browser on any computer connected to the same network and pointing it at the IP address of that hub, and you'll be greeted by the GUI. You can log in and you can create these digital relationships. Now, the best part about this system is that it's ultimately flexible because it's controlled by software. So you can set up different relationships, you can reconfigure those relationships on the fly. It just gives you the ultimate flexibility in distributing your media content, again, to multiple remote locations at the same time. You can even use 4 of the receivers at one of the locations and create a digital video wall. When you send media content there, it'll be broken into, say, 4 pieces and displayed on individual monitors that create that giant video wall. So you can pretty much do everything you need to with a normal AV product at the same time on the same network through software control. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at each one of the modules and explain the connections and indicators. Then I'll do that demonstration and come back one more time to really talk about some of the benefits that this new ToVi system from Oay provides. The ToVi X4 system includes a PoE switch, which forms the backbone of your network and connects all of your modules together, and at least one transmitter or encoder module that connect to your media device that you'd like to share the content from with your remote locations. And these have a similar function, but they're slightly different, and I'll show you that in a second. And at least one receiver module that connects to a monitor at that remote location that you'd like to use to enjoy the content that's being transmitted over the network. You'll also need a video network hub, which has the control software internally that defines the relationship between the transmitter modules and the receiver module. And you can access the graphical user interface on that network control hub by simply opening a web browser on any computer connected to this network and pointing it at the IP address of this network hub, and that'll open the graphical user interface where you can make all your decisions on which media content is sent to which location. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at all the modules. We'll start with the transmitter module, and this connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from with your remote location. On the top of the unit, as well as along both sides, and even the bottom, you'll find ventilation slots that are really designed to let any heat that develops during Operation escape and keep the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. On either side, you'll also find mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount this module up off the ground and out of the way. And on the bottom, there are 4 rubber feet that will help to protect the surface you set it down on and keep it from sliding around during operation. On the front of the unit, starting on the left, is a reset button. You can use a small paper clip and gently push that button to reset the module if needed. To the right of that is a power indicator. When you add power to the module, it immediately starts an internal power on self-test where it checks the electronics, and once it passes that test, it'll light that LED, letting you know the module's ready to use. To the right of that is a link indicator. When you make a connection between this and your PoE switch, that connection is checked. Once it's been verified, the link indicator will come on solid, letting you know it's ready to start transmitting data. To the right of that is a 3-digit display, and this lets you know what channel the transmitter module is currently operating on, and you can change that by tapping these 2 buttons or by using the software in the network control hub. This module provides KVM functionality, which allows you to connect the keyboard and mouse up at the remote location and remotely control a computer at this location. And to use that feature, you'll connect your computer to this port, and there are 2 full-sized USB-A ports right here that are both USB 2.0. These can be used for connecting external peripherals like a microphone or a camera here at the primary location, which are immediately seen by your computer. On the rear of the module, starting on the left, is a power port, and that's used with the included power supply. But this unit features power over Ethernet technology, which means if you have a PoE-capable switch, when you make the network connection, the power required for the module is sent over that LAN cable. So if you're using a PoE switch, you won't need to connect the power supply there. To the right of that is the LAN port you'll use to connect this module to your PoE switch or your regular switch. To the right of that is a port for fiber. Now you can use an SFP there and do a direct fiber connection between the transmitter and the receiver, or use the network to transfer that media content. To the right of that are 2 full-sized HDMI ports labeled in and out. This unit provides local loopback functionality, which allows you to continue to enjoy the content here at the primary location while you're actually sharing it with your remote locations. And to take advantage of that, you can connect an HDMI cable from the output port to a local monitor to enjoy the content. The input port connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from with your remote location and enjoy locally. Now, this product also provides audio extraction capabilities where it can digitally separate the audio from the media content being displayed. It allows you to pass that along to a soundbar and a home stereo for better quality audio. So this SPDIF output connection, as well as this analog left and right output connection, can be used for transferring that musical content to your home stereo or your soundbar. You can also inject audio using this port right here that will combine with the media being displayed, and you can listen to that through your sound system as well. To the right of that is an RS-232 connection block. You can actually control this unit directly from a computer over an RS-232 connection. And to the right of that is a grouping of relays and digital I/O connections, and these are fully explained in the manual. And those are normally used for controlling external components, turning things on and off, and things along those lines. And then finally, to the right of that are 2 3.5mm ports labeled IR in and IR out. In the case of the transmitter, you'll use the infrared blaster that's included with the kit and plug it into the infrared out port for control of your content. Next, we'll take a look at the encoder module, which performs a similar function to the transmitter, but provides a few additional connections that I'll show you in a minute. The cabinet is almost exactly the same, with ventilation slots on the top, both sides, and on the bottom. You'll also find mounting holes on both sides that can be used with the included bracketing kit, again to mount the encoder module up off the ground and out of the way. On the front, it looks exactly the same as the transmitter module, a reset button on the left, a power indicator, a link indicator, channel indicator letting you know what channel it's operating on, channel select buttons you can use to change that channel, or you can use the software. This also provides KVM functionality, so if you'd like to connect it to a local computer, you'll use that port. and you'll find two full-sized USB-A ports that can be used for external peripherals. Now around the back's where it gets interesting. Starting on the left, you'll find a similar power port and LAN port. This connects to the power supply. If you're using a PoE capable switch, when you make this LAN connection, it'll provide power to the module so you don't need that power supply. But to the right of that, on the transmitter, was a port for fiber channel connections, and on the encoder module, you'll find two full-sized USB-C ports. The one on the left is an input port, and you can connect that to a media device that you'd like to share the content from with the remote location, or you can use the HDMI port. The second USB-C port provides power to an external device, so if you've got an external hard drive you'd like to connect, that would be a great place to plug it in. You'll find a similar input port here and output port just like on the transmitter. This connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from. This one provides local loopback functionality to a local monitor so you can enjoy the content here at the primary site. The audio extraction capabilities are exactly the same on the encoder as they are on the transmitter. Digital, optical SPDIF out, analog in, RS-232 connections, relays and digital I/O output here, IR in and IR out. And again, in the case of the encoder, you'll plug the infrared blaster into the IR out port right there. The wall plate encoder performs the same function as the standard encoder module I showed you a minute ago, but it's designed to fit inside of a standard wall box, which makes the installation incredibly easy. On the front, you'll find ventilation slots, and on the rear, a cooling fan that will pull air through the module to keep the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. On the front of the unit, you'll find three input ports, two USB-C and an HDMI. These connect to whatever media devices you'd like to share the content from with your remote location, and you can switch between those inputs by tapping that source button. When you tap the button, the indicators up top will let you know which of the three inputs is currently active. This product also provides KVM functionality, and there's a USB port right there you can use to connect a local computer. And there are two full-sized USB-A ports that can be used with external peripherals like a microphone or a camera. When you plug those in, they're immediately seen by that connected computer. On the rear of the unit, you'll find a LAN port right there, and that's used for connecting this module to the network. This is PoE capable as well as the other modules, so if you plug that into a PoE capable switch, that'll provide all the power you'll need for operation. You'll also find a series of connections on this end, starting with an audio input and audio output connection. This product also provides audio extraction capabilities in analog form, and you can connect here to a local soundbar or home stereo to use that audio. You can also inject audio using these connections. To the right of that is an RS-232 connection block, so you can control this with a local computer connected to that block. And to the right of that is the DC input port. But again, because this uses PoE capability, you won't need to plug in a power supply if you plug this into a PoE capable switch. The receiver module looks very similar to the transmitter and encoder modules, but it performs a completely different function. This is located at your secondary site, connected to a local monitor that you'd like to use to enjoy the content from the primary location. It's responsible for converting the network signal back into an HDMI signal for display in that monitor. But the cabinet looks almost identical. On the top, you'll find ventilation slots as well as along both sides, and on the bottom as well. And on either side, you'll find those mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount the receiver up off the ground and out of the way. Now on the front of the module, part of it looks familiar. On the left-hand side, you'll find a reset button, power indicator, link indicator, channel indicator, and channel select buttons. But to the right-hand side, it's completely different. You'll find four full-sized USB-A ports. Two of them are USB 1.1 compliant, and two are USB 2.0 compliant. This receiver unit provides KVM functionality, which allows you to connect a keyboard and mouse up at the remote location to remotely control a computer connected at the primary location. And to take advantage of that feature, you can connect the keyboard and mouse up to the USB 1.1 ports, and you can connect up a microphone, a camera, a hard drive, whatever you'd like to connect to the computer at the remote location using these two ports. On the rear of the unit, again, very similar. Left-hand side, you'll find a power port and a LAN port. This uses power over Ethernet technology, again, just like the other modules. So if you plug this into a PoE capable switch using a LAN connection, you won't have to worry about the power supply. To the right of that is another fiber channel port. If you're using a transmitter with a fiber channel SFP, you can install a fiber channel SFP here and make a direct connection to the transmitter. To the right of that is a single HDMI port labeled out. This connects to the local monitor at that remote location that you'd like to use to enjoy the content. And it also provides audio extraction capabilities through an optical SP-diff or an analog left and right, and you can inject audio at the remote location. Familiar RS-232 connection, as well as a connection block for relays and digital I/O, and two more 3.5mm ports for remote control of the content. In the case of the receiver, you'll plug the infrared blaster into the infrared in port because it collects up those remote control signals from that location and sends those signals back to the primary location over that LAN connection. The final component in the ToVi X4 solution is the video network hub, which is really the brains of the operation because it's where the software resides that controls the relationships between the video transmitters and encoders and the video receivers. And this product is responsible for directing the media content across the network to your remote locations. It provides an embedded graphical user interface that's incredibly easy to access by simply opening a web browser on any computer connected to the network and navigating to the IP address of the network hub and then logging into that GUI so you can redirect your media traffic as needed. Now the module is incredibly simple. On either side you'll find ventilation slots to let the heat out. You'll also find mounting holes for the bracketing kit that's included. On the front of the module, a reset button on the left you can use to reset the module if needed, as well as a power and status indicator. On the rear of the module, starting on the left, you'll find a power port. And again, this module uses PoE, so if you connect this to a PoE switch, you won't have to connect up a power supply, but you'll find two LAN ports which are interesting, a video LAN port and a control LAN port. And the reason that second LAN port is there is in some commercial installations, you may want to isolate your video traffic from your control traffic. So if you want to do that, you can use this for connecting to a computer to control the relationships, or you can simply plug it into the same network you've plugged all the other modules into. To the right of that is a switch that's labeled normal or MCU. In normal mode, the RS-232 port is active, so you can control this with a direct connection to a local computer. If you flip it to the MCU side, that's used for updating firmware on the module later on if ever needed. So leave it in the normal position mostly. To the right of that is an RS-232 connection block. Again, you can control this, connecting to a local computer and issuing commands directly. And to the right of that, you'll find several different connections here that are explained in the manual. These are all relay connections and then a voltage out right there. And you can select between 5 volts or 12 volts, and that's used for external devices. And finally, to the right of that is another 3.5mm port labeled IR in, and that's used for extending that infrared control outside of a cabinet if you put this inside of a sealed cabinet, like a media cabinet or something like that. Now I'll show you just how easy it'll be to use the new ToVi X4 system for creating a variety of relationships on your network for distributing all of your media content to multiple remote locations at the same time. And for this demonstration, over here I've set up two small media players. One of them is looping a video and the other one is displaying an image of a game console just to make it easy to tell them apart. And I have those media players connected to two transmitter modules, and I'm taking advantage of the local loopback functionality that these products provide, which allows me to continue to enjoy the content over here at the primary location while I'm simultaneously sharing it with my remote locations. And that's the media content that I'd like to broadcast across the network. Over here I've set up two monitors that are connected to two receiver modules, and each of these represents a different remote location where I'd like to enjoy the content from the primary location. And currently I've set up an HDMI extension relationship between the transmitters and the receivers. Now I have both transmitters, both receivers, the network control hub all plugged into the same PoE switch. Right now I'm extending the content over that network between the primary and secondary locations up to 330 feet away. But the nice part about a software-defined solution like this ToVi X4 is that I can change the relationship through the software on the network control hub. So I'll show you how I can turn this relationship into an HDMI splitter by simply dragging my input to the output, and you'll see the same output on both monitors. So what I've done is taken an HDMI signal from the primary location that's been converted into a network signal, sent across the network, and then converted back into an HDMI signal at the remote locations, and it's behaving like an HDMI splitter. And now I can show you how it can behave like an HDMI switch, because I can switch between the two inputs. So for example, let me drag the game console over, and you'll see it show up over here. I can drag it to the other monitor as well. So I've got kind of a hybrid environment that through software, I can dictate exactly where the media content is being distributed to. Now, one other advantage this product provides is I could use 4 receiver modules at a particular location, connect it to 4 individual monitors, send a single media stream to that location, and those 4 receivers through the software will break that media stream into 4 different parts for display on 4 different monitors, creating a gigantic video wall. And you can make these changes on the fly using the software in that network control hub by just booting up that network control hub, opening up a web browser on any computer on the network, and pointing it at the IP address of that network control hub, and you'll have access to the GUI, which gives you a graphical representation of all your transmitters and all of your receivers, and you can simply drag and drop the media content to the location you'd like it displayed. And it really is just that easy to get it working. I hope those closer looks and demonstrations were helpful. Now, here are a few really important things to keep in mind if you're considering the new ToVi X4 system from Oay. And the first thing has to do with flexibility, because unlike standard AV equipment that can only perform a single function, because the ToVi X4 system is software defined, you can perform several functions at the same time across the same network. So for example, you can digitally create a relationship between a transmitter module and a receiver module across your network and distribute media content from one location to a second remote location up to 330 feet away over that network connection. And at the same time, you can distribute that same media content to multiple remote locations at the same time across the network, turning that transmitter effectively into an HDMI splitter. You can add a second transmitter, connect it to a different media device, and have 2 input streams that you can easily switch between for distributing to your remote locations, turning those transmitters into an HDMI matrix. You can also add receivers and create a giant video wall at one of your locations where a media stream is sent to that location, broken into multiple parts for display on individual monitors, creating a gigantic video wall. All of that is software controlled. The product fully supports 4K ultra high definition media content and is both HDMI 2.0B as well as HDCP 2.2 compliant, which means you know it's going to work great with all of your modern media equipment. It also provides KVM functionality, which allows you to connect the keyboard and mouse up at one of your remote locations to remotely control the computer at the primary location. It even includes audio extraction capabilities where they can digitally separate the audio from the media content being distributed across the network and allows you to pass that along to a soundbar, home stereo, or amplifier system for that full theater experience. And finally, the entire solution is PoE capable, which means if you plug these modules into a PoE capable switch, you won't need a power supply at any of the locations, which greatly simplifies your wiring. 2 other important differences are the fact that these units are fully compliant to HDMI 2.0B as well as HDCP 2.2. And the reason those are important is because the HDMI standard has gone through a lot of changes in recent years, a lot of new features have been introduced. So knowing you're on the latest version of HDMI means that you can immediately take advantage of those features. And the HDCP certification is equally important because that controls copy protection. So again, knowing you're on the latest version of HDCP for 4K content means you can play a wider variety of files across your network. Everything you need to get started is included with the basic kit, and with a few simple connections you can be up and running in no time. So hopefully you found this review helpful. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, as always, stay nerdy.